Lead us. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Oh, great. Where did I put all my stuff?
Mine?
No.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, got it. Yep, thank you.
Zach got it.
Yep, you can kick me under the table.
Okay.
Okay. We have a couple of meeting minutes to approve. The first is the draft select board work session meeting minutes from September 14th. Is there a
Move to accept the work session meeting minutes from September 14th.
Zach moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mary Ann seconds. Zach, your vote?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. John?
Aye.
Okay. Second is September 14th, regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Mary Ann moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Neil seconds. John, your vote?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Mary Ann?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Very good. Okay, just want to announce that the September 14th non-public meeting minutes have been sealed indefinitely. Announcements. The select board will meet on the following dates. We'll have regular meetings at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October 13th and Monday, October 26th, 2020. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. The Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District will be holding public Zoom informational meetings regarding the Main Street water and sewer improvements construction beginning spring and summer of 2021. PVWSD will be replacing parts of its existing sewer and water systems along Route 3, Main Street, and neighboring streets from Warren Street to Old North Main Street. The construction will take place within the rights of way of state and town-owned streets, so it is anticipated that this project will create disruptions to the Main Street corridor. You are invited by PVWSD to participate in public meetings via Zoom on October 6th, 2020 at 7 p.m. to hear about the project. Additional follow-up meetings to answer questions and receive input to help develop a plan that can make the project far more smoothly and minimize disruption and inconvenience. You may need to go to their website or the town might be posting that link, but the Zoom link is available at probably the PVWSD website and probably our town website as well. Okay. You can sign up at pvwsd.org and click receive updates to receive future information, project notifications and alerts as the project progresses and additional details become more available. All of the above meetings will be held, at least the town meetings, will be held in the town hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Unlocking of town offices, beginning today, September 28th. The town office has unlocked the doors Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday during normal business hours. Town employees will continue to be available to the public during regular business hours on Thursday and Friday by phone, email, or appointment with any office. Selectman's office will be open Monday through Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And you could reach them at 536-1731 or email at plymouth-nh.org. The town clerk's office is going to be open Monday through Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 or 4 p.m. and their number is 536-1732. Or you can email the town clerk at townclerk@plymouth-nh.org. The tax collector's office is open Tuesday through Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And her number is 536-4733. Or you can email at lbuffington@plymouth-nh.org. I'd like to make a couple of comments, one of which is PSU will be removing the electronic signs. I think I indicated that last time as well, but they're still there. Those electronic signs that indicate mass are mandated. And the two of them are at the beginning of High Street on the Highland Street end they're at both the fire department and at the end of High Street by the end of the month. And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank PSU for underwriting the expense of these signs and appreciate their provision of the surface. We would also like to remind the public that although the signs have been removed, the mask ordinance is still very much in place until at least 30 days after the governor's state of emergency has been lifted, or when the select board determines that the reasons for adopting these regulations still exist, in which case these regulations shall continue in effect until rescinded by action of the select. Now, after all that has been said, I want to have Brian Murphy recognized for his many years of service to the town. And I have something to give you. No, just
Throw at you.
cats. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know if we used to have like people come up and we'll like, oh crap, we're in COVID days. Put your mask on. I got it. Well, look. And how about if I just walk around and give it to you in person, but solid piece of granite with a town seal on it is presented to Brian E. Murphy for many years of dedicated service to the town of Plymouth while serving as ZBA member and chair from 2002 to 2007, building inspector from 2009 to 2017, land use and planning director from 2017 to 2020, deputy emergency management director from 2015 to 2020. And this is presented September 30th. You got to get back in a couple days.
Okay.
By the town of Plymouth and the Board of Selectmen.
Well, thank you, Bill.
Thank you,
I
Brian.
appreciate it.
Any words?
It's been my pleasure to serve, Mr. Chair, in all capacities.
Thank you.
And I'm not gone yet, so.
Planning board, here we come.
There's plenty of volunteer boards that need help. That's for certainly true. And, I'm always probably going to be called for killing the spiders in town hall. But
Taking
thank
the
you
bats
again.
out of
I
the
appreciate it.
mailbox.
Thanks, Brian.
I don't know if Tom McLaughlin wants to say something, or Patrice, or
Is Tom there?
isn't that Tom?
Oh, McLaughlin's there.
Tom or Patrice, do you want to say anything?
He's muted.
Yes, I will.
He's got to unmute.
Tom, turn on your mic.
Teresa's here if she wanted to start.
Here, how's that work?
There you are.
Oh, great. Oh, Brian, I'm real proud of you. I've known Brian for so long up there working on those boards. I met him on the board way back in the early 2000s. And he loves the work. I really have to commend him on his service to the town. And I want to welcome him into retirement. And it's really like heaven without the miracles.
That's
And I welcome you here, Brian. Look forward to seeing you more.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Patrice.
Patrice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm too, with just on behalf of, I
Can't hear you.
Brian, but I would just say congratulations, Brian. This is a hard-earned retirement. And on behalf of the zoning board, we thank you for all of your administrative help and assistance over the years, and all of your contribution to the town. It's been very noteworthy and very appreciated. So have a happy retirement.
Yeah,
I'd like to make a comment. I've known Brian for over 30 years.
I think so, yeah.
you know, I really appreciated the fact that you did a really hard job with compassion. You know, you always had, you know, some compassion in your heart for people. And to me, you know, a lot of people couldn't do that, but you did.
Anyone else?
We will miss you, Brian, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not away. John wants to say something.
John
Oh,
wants to.
John, go, yeah.
Yeah, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Brian, thank you for everything and for everything you've done for the town, and we appreciate your dedication. Thank you.
Put that in a safe place and give that to yourself on the 30th, okay?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did somebody say Brian had a heart? Brian, on behalf of the fire department, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you. You're a consummate professional, and we appreciate that. Good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Doug. All right.
I'll offer my thanks and congratulations too, even though I know we'll still be seeing him. He's going to be on speed dial, so.
Yeah, Brian, also,
What?
Steve, you just,
how about now? Can you hear me?
yep.
Just want to say thank you for everything, Brian, over the years. You've always been there and been very helpful. I'm gonna miss you.
All right, enough accolades. Well, thank you, Brian. All right, our next order of business. So it's usually accompanied by a letter from the applicant, but,
There
It is.
should be one.
oh, can I have yours?
Yeah, you can have mine.
That's not the
I came
same.
prepared, don't worry about it.
That's not,
Mark, are you gonna have it?
So the next order of business is a letter I am writing to express at the planning board. A letter to express my interest in serving on the Plymouth Planning Board. After sitting in on 3 meetings as a citizen, I have found the work interesting, educational, and engaging. I've enjoyed getting to know the board members and planning staff, hearing, well, you're not going to see this guy anymore, but hearing about new projects and plans and listening to project applicants. I feel I would bring the following assets to the board: a brief and adhering to a structured meeting process. A transparent and structured meeting is enormously helpful when dealing with complex or controversial issues or projects. The perspective of many peers of my generation. At 41, I am immersed in a career in fundraising at the Holderness School that introduces me to numerous people in Plymouth. And as the father of 2 young children, I am in constant contact with people in the PES community. A passion for improving the town of Plymouth. I see enormous potential for increasing the beauty and pedestrian-friendly functionality of our town center while maintaining the small town feel that many residents adore. A commitment to public service. I believe that all citizens should take the opportunity to serve their communities in whatever way possible. Serving as a member of the planning board would be an honor. I look forward to working with town officials, other board members, and to serving the community. Sincerely, Mark Sturgeon. And Mark is on the Zoom. Thank you, Mark, for your interest in being appointed to the planning board. And I'll leave it up to the board to weigh in or move.
Want a motion?
Yes, maybe I should have been clear.
I move that we appoint Mark Sturgeon to the planning board.
Okay, Neil
Second.
moved. Zach seconds. Mary Ann, your vote?
Discussion.
oh,
Goodness.
Oh, we have to have a discussion.
I don't know why people don't
That
remind
letter
me.
sounded very good,
Yeah,
very
that's,
thoughtful.
yeah, I gotta use that letter, actually.
Yeah.
So is there any discussion? wise guys.
I look forward to seeing him on the board.
Thank you, Neil. Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Mary Ann?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Well, thank you, Mark. Any words?
I'll just thanks everyone for your vote of confidence. I'm excited to get started. I've only been in town for 3 years, but I really enjoyed my time here, and I just look forward to getting more involved with the community. So I think this is just a great natural step in doing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And you're a lucky call that I made in my campaign.
That's right. That's right.
And you happen to be a neighbor, at least a New Hampshire neighbor, just right down the road.
Yeah.
So it was very lucky. I'm glad you joined up. So
Yes.
Thank you.
That also means if anything goes wrong, you can blame Bill for.
Hey, believe me, they do. All right. Well, thanks.
All very much. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. New purchase orders. And Abear for the highway manager, Joe Fagnant. Anderson Equipment Company.
All right, so Joe is unable to be here tonight. He did ask me to submit a purchase order request for the board. He did write a letter to the select board indicating the town of Plymouth Highway Department has had about 8 months of use with its 1988 dresser grader before its most recent failure. The downtime is now closing in on 2 months. The repairs are extremely expensive, and the parts for the grader are almost non-existent. This year's capital reserve will reflect my concerns to try and add more in the equipment line. So he is asking for repairs from Anderson Equipment Company in the amount of $9,481.05 for repairs to the 1988 dresser grader.
Did he state specifically what the repairs were?
It says repair, if you look at the third place, it says segment details. Repair right tandem drive traveled to machine location in Plymouth. What they did, tandem and hub to differential as an assembly. I have no idea what any of this is, but I'm sure somebody else does. So there's several different pieces that they're looking to repair. Right.
Sounds like they had to make a custom part to replace that sleeve.
Yeah, rear right tandem drive, Neil.
That's the final drive.
The biggest part is the parts, which is 5,600 of this price.
So did we just buy this?
No.
No,
No, 1988.
old machine.
Okay, the 8 months I thought.
It's been 8 months since it's been down.
I see.
Or the last repair was 8 months. It's been down now for 2 months.
Gotcha.
These are $300,000 to $400,000 pieces of equipment to
And
replace new.
what's it needed for? So that it needs to be up before snow flies?
Soon, as
It's
soon
a
as
road
possible.
breaker.
Yep.
Okay.
It wings back the huge snowbanks on back roads.
Mm.
And they use it
Mailboxes
for
and stuff.
grading the road when we have mud season.
Right.
And they have to have stone put in.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Ann? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve this repair.
Neil moves. Is there a second?
A second.
Mary Ann seconds. John, your vote?
Aye.
Oh, no. Any
Here we go
discussion?
again.
I fell down on my job.
The grader is an essential piece of equipment for the highway department. And we have roads that really need it. A new grader is really expensive. And this really isn't that much money if we can get some life out of it.
Is this the grader that broke down?
We've had it for years.
Yeah, it's been breaking down for the
It's
past.
32 years old.
Yeah.
Right. We're spending a lot of money on it, but
Yeah.
it beats my new
Don't
one.
have the money for a new one.
Right now, a new one would be astronomical.
Okay, any other discussion?
Does anybody know how many dirt roads we have in town?
Well, we have Moon Lake Road and Chase
We don't
Road.
need to
and,
memorize.
Old Hebron,
It's a good number,
You got
though.
Bell Road and.
Yeah,
you
Bell
got-
Road.
Yeah, that, Old Hebron Road and Texas Hill Road. and
So all of those roads.
People live on those roads.
Oh, absolutely.
And Cummings Hill Road, that's another good one.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to maintain those roads
Yeah.
without a grader.
okay. So is there a motion?
There was, and
Yeah.
we
Oh, for goodness
need
sake.
to vote on
You
it.
should
Any more
interrupt me.
Just
discussion?
having a discussion, Bill.
Okay, well, in that case, Mary Ann, you're,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Bill, aye, John,
Aye.
thank you. I think there's a time lag. I'm going to sign this first and avoid the Mary Ann scroll. Get this one going.
Boy, it's been a long time since we sat around this table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're signing that. And Abear has another item.
What we have here now in front of you is a purchase order in the amount of $9,460 for the bell tower repairs. And you probably noticed a couple weeks ago that Trust Builders was here with their lift. They did a bunch of repairs to the bell tower itself. They still need to come back and do some work to the bell to connect it. So, and $9,000 of this is a grant through the Moose Plate Foundation. So the only true cost to the town is the $460 right now. Okay. So I'm asking for your approval for that $9,460 to be expended.
How often do we use the bell?
We've decorated it the last few years, but we've never, I don't recall ever.
Brian,
Yeah.
You used to ride that rope, didn't you? The rope will be recentered, so it'll be a direct pull, so from now on, it'll be probably in the center of the blue room across the way. Instead of off to the end, because the bell is now located in the center of the building, whereas before it was over to the side. When we elevated it.
The gold room, whatever.
Yes.
So it'll be coming down in the middle of the table or?
Well, we'll leave the cleat on the wall so it doesn't hit you on the head.
Okay. All right, so what's estimated to, what are the other expenses that are estimated to?
I don't have those yet.
Okay,
So I can't really tell you, but the 9,000, the only thing he's got left to do, Brian, is to
But the
wire up,
9,460 covers all of the work.
okay,
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, the only thing left to do is to pierce the pan and drop the rope in.
so you're gonna pierce the water collection pan?
The one that's
Yeah.
segregated from the elements, yes, sir.
Okay,
According to his bill, what he's billed us for is everything that's 100% complete. So I will have either another purchase order that comes in, but
that can't be too much.
and that was his initial quote was 9,400.
Okay. All right, so therefore, is there a motion for expenditures with 9,460? Or the 400?
Motion to pay the bell tower repairs for 9,460.
Okay, Zach moves, is there a second? Mary Ann seconds. Is there any discussion?
Does the 460 come out of the grant funds for the repair of town hall, or is that?
That's
coming
going to come out of the bond money
The
for the
bond money,
repairs for the town hall. Yes. Yep.
So that
because
460 does come out of the bond.
Yes, out of the 100,000 that we have set aside for the town.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none. Zach, your vote.
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Mary Ann?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Okay. And one more item from Ann, Wright-Pierce for Predevelopment Planning Grant.
So the board has already approved a grant for the pre-development for the highway department, and this is for the PPG grant under the USDA for the stormwater, storm drains. So what I'm asking you to approve is a full 40,000, which was the cost of the contract that you had signed with Wright-Pierce. Attached to this, you will see that there is a bill, $9,924.35. That is their initial bill. It looks like they had a kickoff meeting. And then they must have had a draft that came through, expenses and labor. So what we're trying to do is just to get a purchase order to cover the entire project. So as the costs come in, we can pay them from this purchase order.
Okay.
30,000 will come from the grant. 10,000 will come from the highway department itself.
All right. Any questions before we have a motion?
Is that 10,000 from the bond, or is that general highway budget?
It looks like it's coming from the bond.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mary Ann moves, Neil seconds. Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
John?
No discussion on that, or?
All right.
Here we go again.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Actually
It's
happening.
really, it's badly needed. And now's, there's no better time.
All right, so therefore, seeing no further discussion, Mary Ann, you voted aye.
Aye.
John, did you say aye?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill, aye. Where did I put my stupid agenda? There we go. Okay. Business.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have a Robert Hayden who is actually on the Zoom tonight with us. He is from Standard Power. We had received some emails from one of our state representatives who said we should look into this company. They can save us money on power, and they can save our citizens money on power. The town of Plymouth currently has a company that they work with. They have a 5-year contract. I believe it was 5 years. It expires in a couple years. So to get the word out, and it was Joyce Western, I'm sorry, who brought this forward. To get the word out, it thought it would be best if Mr. Hayden came forward and explained what his company does, how they save money for residents, and how their environmental impact is good for our community. So he's just coming in. I think he's on there.
Yep, there he is.
Okay. So he's just coming to give a presentation to the board.
Sure, Robert, you want to unmute yourself?
Oh,
You got it. Oh,
He had it.
close.
Hi there.
hey,
Aye.
Oh, good. So I work with Standard Power, and I do appreciate the referral to speak to you. We've been working with a variety of communities for a long time and have helped with becoming greener, I guess. And sometimes that's difficult in New Hampshire in general. but currently we serve for the municipalities themselves, for the municipal buildings and school buildings, we serve 50 towns and 17 school districts. And everybody pretty much has the same kinds of electricity contracts. They have a third-party supply contract that replaces their utility on their electricity bill at a lower rate. In addition, they receive a quarterly reimbursement from local hydroelectric facilities. So combined, it reduces their rate below what the market would normally be from other folks in this business. More recently, actually last year in August, the governor signed a bill enabling community power, which is where your town individually or with an aggregation of other towns buys electricity specifically for all of the residents. The detail is it actually buys electricity for all of the residents and any other entities that are not served by a third-party supplier. But that's a little specific. It's really geared towards your residents. And yes, there is money to be saved there. It's very likely that buying just regular electricity would reduce the cost, particularly for a group of towns buying all together. It's likely that Standard Power will be serving a well-known town in the southwest part of the state, along with an aggregation of 15 or 20 towns, smaller towns. So that would be a nice start for community power and Standard Power. But Standard Power all by itself is not really in a position to do a great job of community power. And we want to always do a great job for our clients. We believe that a contract that serves us well, serves the community well, and serves whoever the vendor is well is a great contract. And that's how we want to do community power too. So we partnered with a company called Good Energy. Good Energy is a national community power company. And in many places, this program is called municipal aggregation. They have 50 communities in Massachusetts, half a dozen in Rhode Island, a bunch in Illinois, some in California, some in New York. So they're well versed in this kind of a program. So the partnership of Good Energy and Standard Power will provide that great benefit to the community. In the initial town we're looking at, they place a very high priority in becoming green or more green or as green as they possibly can. So in their case, they're likely to have the basic offer to their community members include more green energy than the standard power delivered by your utility. In addition, they want to have an opt-up option where the power is maybe 50 or 100% green. And that would be probably a more expensive option, but an option nonetheless that seems to be significantly wanted by many of the community members. And then there'd probably be an opt-down offer, which would be the lowest possible price we could manage for anybody. And that would be the standard brown power we currently buy from our utilities. That's greened up a little bit by the RPS requirements that the state requires they include in their power stack. So that's kind of an overview of how this works. If you're interested in proceeding for the community aggregation, which you could do now, we'd be happy to help you. And if you'd like us to help you with your municipal building and school district power acquisition when your current contracts are done, we would be happy to run that program for you also, where we solicit rates from every supplier that's licensed and a good company here in New Hampshire, compare their rates and let you choose what makes the best sense for you. So we're more than happy to work with you in any of those ways. So I know that's a bunch of information. Are there questions about how community works and how it could serve your community?
I think I'd have to look more carefully at it. And you mentioned local hydro. What local hydro is that? Franklin Dam?
Yeah, Franklin Falls. We have that one belongs to Alan Larder. We have one in Laconia. We have one in Lisbon, one in Lancaster, several in the Keene area, Milford, Rochester, Dover, Milton. So we have 21 of them in that aggregation I mentioned. We're working real hard legislatively so that we can include more of that kind of power, bigger units that are over 1 megawatt but under 5 in that aggregation, so that we could actually make it available to this community aggregation program. At the end of the legislative session last year, a lot of bills were just kind of lumped together in omnibus bills, and we did not have much success in getting bills passed that would help a greener future this past year. But it was a very difficult year legislatively because of COVID. So that's why they packed a lot of different bills together in these omnibus packages.
Okay. Joyce, I saw that your hand went up. Did you have a question or a comment?
Really, my hand didn't go up, but you did see me go oy vey when he mentioned net metering, because Sununu has vetoed that a couple years in a row. And, we're going to come back with a climate action plan and try to change some of this next year. God willing, if the creek don't rise.
You can call on me anytime in regards to that. I usually work mostly with Clean Energy New Hampshire and the New Hampshire Hydro Association. But if you need another voice, or if you need someone to help you a little bit with data, I'd be happy to help.
We would love to have you, and maybe you can come and testify when we have the hearing.
I testify a lot, so I'm practicing. And I don't mind writing the data down to leave behind so that all of the legislators have it in their hand.
Okay, you're on. Good to hear from you. Thank you.
All right.
Do you have any wind power or solar power sources?
I currently act as a consultant for many solar projects. We're always looking at the best way of doing it for communities we work with. Standard Power does not develop solar projects. We consult for our customers and help them run the RFP and RFQ processes. But in the management of rather significant solar projects, like the large project that Peterborough has, they have the first megawatt unit in New Hampshire. We integrate that with third-party supply electricity and hydropower to make sure that they get the greenest blend they possibly can have. Now, that's a want they have. They like being known as the greenest town in New Hampshire. So 1/3 of their power is solar. 2/3 of it is a higher percentage hydro than the rest of the power. And then they buy some federal wind recs to ensure that they're 100% green. And so we manage that interplay for them and several other smaller communities who have multiple types of generation assets. Wind is a more difficult story here in New Hampshire. We have about 150 megawatts in various locations, but it's all grid level. None of it gets to our individual entities, our schools, our towns, our businesses. It all just goes on the grid. So there's 99 megawatts in northern New Hampshire and about 40 or 50 in the southern half of the state.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Well, Robert, thank you very much for your presentation, and we'll give it some thought and look into it.
Yeah, if you'd like, just one more thing, the process is important. The town has to have a specific committee, maybe a subcommittee of employees and the energy committee that become the community power committee. We will have template contracts available for this program very soon, where you can look at the language and the variables associated with customizing things for your community and the wants of your constituents. We sponsor community outreach programs so we can hear from the people about what they care about and how it's implemented.
Okay. First, we have to rebuild our energy commission, which we're trying to do.
We're working on it.
Yep.
Well, good luck with that. It's an important thing. And in this current climate, we have an opportunity to make wonderful changes in the system that we currently have and helping it evolve into a future where we better serve not only what our community members want, but also what we need to do to be a greener and more healthy environment, which, you know, supports the overall look of what New Hampshire is.
Thank you for that thought. I appreciate it. Well, anyway, thanks a lot. And I'm sure we'll be in communication.
All right. Thank you so much for letting me speak. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Robert. You too. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So Juliet, Harvey-Bolia, Economic Development Airport Expansion Update.
A couple things still.
Oh, yeah, please.
Oh, there's Colin. I just have just a quick visual thing here. So basically, I'm asking, just gonna get a sense of where the select board is at as far as this project, and then ask if you would support going ahead to the next step, which is a grant proposed to apply for a grant. But anyway, so we're Marianne knows that we've been, you know, researching economic development and possibly a business park or a technology park. And at the same time, I've been working with Colin and Brian a little bit, and the folks at Argentech to build a hangar out there, possibly get some funding for that. So we've been looking at the master plan and seeing how it fits in. There's a lot of supporting text about it. And so we get two projects here, and we're thinking of possibly combining them only at this step, and possibly continuing to keep them combined as far as funding is concerned. But at this point, there is a grant opportunity with the CDFA. It's free, apparently. It's a $25,000 grant. And I wanted to put both project ideas forward on it. This is just a little bit to give you a little bit of an idea about, you know, hangar. There's a hangar here, and Colin, jump in at any time. No, you're not. Yeah, it's all staticky, Colin. Oh. Okay, we'll have to get you later. We can't hear you. Yeah. I've got it, Colin. It's all staticky. And so this is the hangar idea that we've been developing with the Argentech. They would like to lease space. We would own the hangar, and they would lease space from us. And then this is the land, which is across the street, adjacent to it, which could be developed. I thought that would come up, but I guess it didn't. We have a parcel of land over here across, right here. I think it's actually right here. That one there. Let's see. I had it with all this stuff, but anyway, so this could be developed and leveraged against future grants. So we own this. And what other towns have done is, like in Colebrook, and we've been talking to Benoit LaMontagne about the development, how they've done it in Colebrook and Berlin. The town works together with a development corporation, which is a nonprofit, and to kind of leverage the land that the town has existing and puts it forth as, you know, this is their in-kind contribution. That way it's not as costly when you go to get a grant. And there's now $1 million grants with the EDA for rural development projects such as this. And it's Benoit LaMontagne and Mike Bergeron, who we've heard from at the meeting the other night with economic development, are very interested in putting forth this project. But we don't need to move on that tonight. Basically, I just wanted to get a sense of if the select board is in favor of exploring it more. And then if they are, would you like to pursue that grant opportunity with the CDFA? So that is kind of the question for tonight. That's yeah, this is what it looks like here. There's Quincy Road, there's the airport, and I was, you know, kind of stuck that there. There's an airstrip. We're haying. It's this sort of portion here is being hayed right now. So ultimately, just to let you know, though, a grant would require some matching funds from the town, even if we could leverage our land as an in-kind contribution. So, so that is a question. What does the planning board, I'm sorry, the select board think? It's very important to have the BOS buy-in to the projects. Otherwise, we won't, you know, that's what they look for when you write the grant. Is it supported by the select board, this sort of project? So, does everybody? And there's no match to the 25,000 from the town. Right. At this point, there's no obligation. Is I just spoke with somebody today from the CDFA. So there's no obligation just for that planning grant, which would get us to concept phase, costs. We don't have any costs. We need a cost of the hangar. What are all these things going to cost? Scope, things like that.
Sounds like a necessary step before you go any further.
Right, yeah.
You have to do this. And it doesn't cost the town anything.
Not at this point. I will let you know, though.
Once we, what, you have to apply for a grant, or is it available to us?
I do have to apply. They suggested going through the Lakes region. They often write the grant for a fee, like $1,000. I just kind of emailed Jeff Hayes today, and they said that they're pretty backlogged. So I'll see what I can do to maybe work with Colin. I guess it's not a heavy lift of an application, but it is an application.
You're not competing with somebody else for this thing.
I think more so they're looking to see if this is going to be feasible enough to award it to us. Like if it was just a hangar, we ran into a little bit of a problem because that Argentech, we couldn't really prove a direct link, like Argentech's going to bring a bunch of jobs. That's not how this high-tech industry works, as it seems. Argentech will bring people, but they also are deployed everywhere around the world, and they work with farmers and with DOD, so they're here, there, and everywhere. So that link, we just kind of ran into a little bit of a dead end. But with the but it could be what they call an entrepreneurial ecosystem sort of area where it's a hangar and also the technology park, sort of high tech zone, if you will. but
Is-
please.
Has this been discussed with the planning board as well?
No, it's usually it's brought, as far as I know, it's more of a select board. Yeah,
Sure, I meant more in terms of, is this an area? I know that the planning board's been talking about areas for development, for encouraging, small industry and these sorts of things. Is this a particular area where they have indicated as an opportunity area, or is this sort of just happens to be convenient because we own the road or the land across the street from the airport?
well, the hangar part is part of the airport master plan, sort of
Right.
grander scheme of things. And, it is part of the master plan.
The land
To
across the
develop
street,
things.
too.
Yep, across the street as well. So development in general. So that's kind of, usually you'd go and you discuss it with the select board, I think, more about the process.
Well, if it's economic.
Yeah,
comes
it's
to
more
record from
economic,
the
yeah.
board,
Okay.
That's your bailiwick, right?
Okay.
It is, yeah.
So basically, I think, before we would talk about it with the land use boards, we would have to have the intent rather than just have a general conversation.
Gotcha. I just knew that in a lot of ways they were kind of pushing the master plan in terms of some of the development. but-
Yeah.
I think
It's
it
very
ticks the
small numbers.
boxes, though, from the master
Yes.
plan. It certainly ticks
It does
boxes.
tick the diversity, the high density box, because you're going to have a park, and a technology park rather than spread out.
Is there water and sewer out that far? No.
Yeah. And there is a separate master plan for the airport that was written under a grant 3 years ago, something like that.
Okay, so there's an airport master plan
There
in
is.
addition to the town master.
That's FAA.
There's some background that the Board of Selectmen is already, is that right?
Yeah,
Can you give me some?
We accepted it and,
Yeah.
we approved it, I guess, but, yeah, it was.
I think this is a sound proposal.
Yeah,
We
it's,
should move on it.
I got a question about Argentech. So they kind of going ahead, or they're just kind of like,
Yeah.
slow down for a while, or?
Actually, they have been working hard to get the COA, it's a certificate of authorization to operate commercially. And so they just got awarded it, or we got awarded it as a town. So that's great news. I thought that was going to be harder to get than it was, but it's a step where seems to be, they're still interested and,
Good.
we're going to have
That'd be a
some
great
meetings
business
with them. It's,
For a motion.
I
had one more question. In terms of a technology park, what do we envision being there?
don't know.
Would it be a series of buildings, sort of, with encouraging? Are we thinking robotics and that kind of thing? Are we thinking? I mean, when I think about a lot of technology companies, they're moving online today. So the idea of a technology park for lots of high tech is sort of antithetical to where the growth is.
Yeah.
But things like robotics or things that need physical presence and those kinds of things might make more sense. But I don't know if that's included in the proposal or if that's what we're.
Well, the
How much focus is
PSU is very interested in working with this sort of project idea, and that is in the master plan to work with. It's one of the slides, to work together, because we're complementary sort of industries here. We want business, they want programming and business. It works together, but I have not fleshed that out. That's sort of what I'm hoping the scope of. It's one of the things we can put on here. And also at some point we need to have Benoit Lamontagne and Mike Bergeron back and speak to the board directly. They could much easier answer all those questions. They have done it up in Colebrook, I guess. And that's what Benoit said today. And there's a number of these parks. Berlin has one, and there's a few other.
You have a technology park, or is it a light industry commercial?
I didn't narrow down technology. I'm sort of just using that moniker, but it could be business. I don't know.
Could be opening the door for opportunity with the university too.
Right, something that the university might be, will keep including them, and that's where it's at, very in the infancy stage. Yeah.
So, did you?
Motion.
Yeah.
I propose, move that we give Jules the
Authorized pursuing.
authorization to develop this application.
Okay, in support of the idea of
Pursue the grant.
development. Okay, just so we can have because we need to have continuing support from the select board. They look for that when they review the big grants.
Yeah, I mean, I would alter that a little to say, at least from my perspective, I'm interested in any expansion we can do to industry, commerce, any of that kind of work that creates jobs, creates, any of that sort of industry in our town. I think that's really important. And so this is in line with that concept in my mind. I don't know, is it necessarily needed to be this particular thing, but if there's an opportunity here and it aligns with something else we're doing in town, that makes a lot of sense. Two birds with one stone.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
That was discussion on this.
Yeah, that wasn't an amendment to the.
It's an amendment, maybe, in terms of I guess we can do discussion. I wonder if this is too limited in scope for her to proceed. I don't know. If it's only about a technology park, I guess that was my only hesitance.
I think that's one area
We could do business park. I mean, it's certainly doesn't matter to me.
I mean, if you start talking to them and they say that technology is definitely the direction to go and that's where the opportunities are, and they know they can get some people here or something, that
I had the same thought though, Zach, as well. Now after post-COVID, how has industry changed so that, a lot of people are working from home. So a lot of these places, and Brian was here for that discussion, are custom, you can custom size them. It's sort of the new wave of, and I am not the one to talk to about it, but but you can custom size them. They're customizable sort of units, is from what I understand. But yeah, that's also part of the discussion, and it's a great point. Yeah. How does it look?
I'd like to know if my microphone is working better. Is it clear now?
Yep.
Excellent. I had to switch microphones. I have an external device here and it wasn't working right. So, looking at our airport master plan, this would be a very compatible use for the land that's north of the airport. Having some type of industrial or technology park would be complementary to aviation on the south side, especially if it was related. If we had businesses that were related to working at the airport, that would be really, really good. The reason we really can't use the land on the north side of Quincy Road is because of the road. You can't cross the road with airplanes. I just wanted to add that in there. So.
Okay.
Didn't have a second to that motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neil made a motion.
A second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to add that it's my firm belief that the viability of our community is dependent on having a healthy airport. And we really need to have an airport that's moving into the future and thriving and on a solid footing. And this would be a good step to take in that direction.
I agree.
I said it sort of out of order, but I'm very concerned about the particular language in the motion that you made around this being specific to technology. I am concerned that we might struggle to bring a technology company into a technology park in this particular climate. Whereas I think if we could change it to light industrial technology, yeah, if we could modify that, just be a little bit broader, I think that will set Jules up for better success.
I'm amenable to that.
Actually, we got a comment from our.
If I may.
Yeah, please.
It's just a placeholding name. Originally, the idea would have been business park, which encompasses everything underneath it. and includes all types of industry. But, you know, I think if we're writing towards a grant, then we're going to speak the language that they want to hear if we're culminating with the airport operations themselves. But there would certainly, I mean, we can foresee that if there was a thriving business park of some sort out there, a lot of the businesses would or could be airport related or aviation related. Because there's, you know, a test bed strip there, or easy transportation. It's all bounded by state roads. It's a large property. It's fairly dry over there from what I've seen. Jules and I walked it the other day. The front parcel is a little over an acre just by thumbnail sketching. The back parcel, as cleared, is over 3 acres at this point. Now, I did stick my head into the woods on either side to kind of get the sense of the lay of the land. And it appears that you could easily widen the existing strip, which kind of looks like this. It's the light green here, to actually have it 50 feet or 100 feet on either side. You know, there's issues with any building, but at this point, there's no blasting involved. So the main concern would be drainage and extension of water and sewer services there at a point where it makes sense, you know, for them to run it out there. It's a haul from where they stop now, you know, granted. But there are also things like impact fees and things where, you know, early adopters in there would defray some of their, or not defray, but pay into a pot to take care of the infrastructure that's out there. And, you know, in talking to Benoit and the other night, Mike, they talked about Colebrook and they talked about Littleton. Littleton actually had to cut a step in a mountain to make the building pads, which is pretty expensive, you know. Whereas in this case, I mean, you have the frontage on the state highway and the land is flat. It's underutilized at this point. I mean, it's a hayfield in the back, but that's traditional. I know, Neil, you abut the property, so you've probably been out there.
You know the land.
Over, yeah. Am I correct in my assumption that there's more dry land than wetland in that particular area? Okay. So, you know, and the other one was that Colebrook and Littleton bought the property before they built the park. We already own this. And like I said, being underutilized, even if we got $1 return, you know, tax-wise from it, it's a plus from where we stand today. Granted, it's not costing us anything by letting it lie fallow, but the potential is there to make a pretty solid and forward-thinking investment in that area. If, you know, if that's the strategy that the town wants to adopt, basically. And it just kind of fell into place with the process for doing the airport grant, and you know, just the expansion of that. And as Jules had touched on, they like the big ask more than the little ask, because one is the death by 1,000 cuts, and the other one they figure with that kind of money you pretty well have figured it out. So, you know, I personally think this is worth pursuing at this stage of the game. You know, we'll find out later what the real problems are with it, you know, with more in-depth study, but I don't think that they're insurmountable at this point.
So,
Okay.
is it still an issue with the language though, of a motion or
Well, I don't know.
I have no objection to the use of the land for economic development and for use in a grant. I do sort of take a little bit of concern around the language being restricted to technology.
I think it's just the term Jules is using. We're not committing, we're not committing either way. It's just a discovery at this point.
And certainly if you called it a business park at this point, that's a catch-all phrase for just about anything we
So
want.
I would
That would be my amended language.
rephrase my
go for it.
my motion to reflect a business park in general term.
Okay. Okay, Neil moves. Mary Ann, do you support that amendment?
I'll second.
All right, and Zach, you vote.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Any discussion? Crap.
We already
I
have
think
it.
we just had it.
Read the motion.
Ask John.
I guess the board moves that, we shall pursue a grant. We support the, application of a grant for a business park across from the airport on town-owned property.
/hangar.
Slash hangar, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Whoa, we're still
We
doing.
haven't voted, but yay.
And we completed discussion, correct?
You did.
You want us to vote?
Yes, I want you to vote. So Neil, your vote?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye again.
Bill, aye.
Aye.
And John? That was an aye. I saw it.
Is that an aye?
And I,
Is that just do a thumbs up?
I think we lost
John.
the sound.
I think he's ready.
we got it. Yeah.
Okey-doke.
All right. It's great to see everybody back and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Larry
We
Gibson.
have Larry.
Larry Gibson regarding pesticide spraying on school grounds.
So at the last meeting, I just want to give a brief history. At the last meeting, the board had brought to the attention, to our attention, that there was some spraying that took place on one of the school grounds, play fields, back in June. So once we received the email, we sent it off to the school, sent it off to Larry and to Brian. So Larry and Brian are both here, I believe, to add some insight to what happened and how it was done. So this is just in response to that inquiry.
And I have to offer up the fact that Joyce Weston had a question about,
Yes.
and I don't think we were provided that dialogue with the email in our packet.
No, the only thing that you were offered in your packet is,
Brian's comment
and that I spoke to Kayla.
I brought copies of Paul Phillips' response. Would it be appropriate to? And so Joyce requested that Paul review the comments, the discussion that was made about the, you might want a copy too.
I don't think we've seen that. Have you seen this, Brian?
Actually, maybe. And I guess it was, more of a discovery about the RSAs that were pertinent to, the opinion of whether or not the school property is actually, under Plymouth land use regulations or exempted from Plymouth land use regulations. And, it seems, actually, Paul is on the Zoom call as well, if we have questions regarding that, but, his statement that in Brian's view, pesticide application would be a governmental use of public land that would be exempt from Plymouth land use regulations. And he further indicated that, the legality that Brian is observing is incorrect.
Who is Paul Phillips? Where does he work from?
He's an attorney.
He's an attorney,
Yep.
okay.
He's town resident. He's an attorney with Primer. What's Primer? Paul, what's your firm?
So, hi, I'm Paul Phillips. I live up on Ash Hill Road in Plymouth. I am an attorney, shareholder with Primer, Piper, Eggleston and Kramer, which is a regional law firm. My office is in Manchester, New Hampshire. I was the founding chair of the Plymouth Energy Commission. I served there for 3 years. And I left that position to be appointed chair of the New Hampshire Human Rights Commission, where I served for 5 years. And now I'm back full-time in private practice. So Joyce shared with me Brian's thoughts about the pesticide application, and it struck me as not a correct interpretation of the law. I just started with the language of the ordinance itself, because the voters were clear that they wanted the pesticide prohibition to apply to all the public lands in Plymouth. So it struck me initially that there was nothing about the ordinance that brought it within the land use regulations of the town of Plymouth. It wasn't an amendment to the zoning ordinance. It wasn't brought within the jurisdiction of the planning board or the zoning board. It seemed to me to be a straightforward decision by the voters that they simply did not want pesticides applied to public lands in the town of Plymouth. So that was why I was struck first by the notion that this was a land use regulation. It didn't sit with me as a land use regulation that would be subject to the statutes that Brian had referenced. So I guess that's my first position, is that there's really not a land use issue that's involved here. But if you conclude that it is a land use regulation, then you look at the statute that Brian cited, and the way that the RSA reads is that any use, construction, or development of land occurring on governmentally owned or occupied land, but which is not a governmental use, as defined in paragraph 1, shall be fully subject to local land use regulations. So the default position under the statute is that any use of governmental land shall be fully subject to land use regulations. And the only exception within that is if the use itself is a governmental use. So when I read Brian's analysis, it seemed to me that he was letting the exception swallow the rule. The exception does not mean that, for example, the land of the school district, because it's a school district, is a governmental use that's subject to the exception. But what we see from the statute is that the ownership of the land is separate from the use you're putting to it. And the use in this case is not the school district or the public park or whatever it would be. The use is the application of the pesticide. That's what's being prohibited here. And so then you have to decide whether the application of pesticides is a governmental use. And the statute makes it clear that the definition is found in paragraph 1 of the statute. And paragraph 1 of the statute makes clear that there are two tests for whether a use is a governmental use. The first is whether it's statutorily governmental in nature, and there's nothing in the statutes that requires pesticide applications to be defined as a governmental use. The second standard is that it's a use that's traditionally governmental in nature. And I've not seen any claim that the application of pesticides to land is a use that's traditionally governmental in nature. So it seemed to me on the face of the statute that the use of pesticides did not meet either of the standards of the exception in the statute. And so that would mean that the rule itself would apply. And the rule here is that it's a use of land, it's a use of land occurring on governmentally owned land, and so it shall be fully subject to local land use regulations. And I think that brings it back to what the ordinance really requires, is that the voters of Plymouth, fully intended that this pesticide prohibition would apply to all public lands in the town of Plymouth. So I offered that to Joyce because it seemed to me that there was a fairly direct and clear analysis under the statute that meant that the exception here did not apply and that the rule applied, which is that it's fully subject to local land use regulations. Thank you for your time. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for Paul? Thank you, Paul.
No questions.
Okay.
So just I did speak to Kayla also at the school.
Yep.
She was not superintendent at the time of the application, but has since. And she did defer this to Larry and also to Brian.
I do have some points though, but no questions. I'll wait for the board to have their discussion.
I have a couple comments. Actually, there are several. Yes, spraying did occur. Who authorized the spraying is not important. I will take full responsibility for that because it's my department. However, myself and the commission, we have questions in reference to the process on how this came about, where we are today. And with all due respect, I'm not here to criticize. I'm here for clarification as far as the process. When I don't know who brought the complaint forward. I don't know when the complaint reached the board, but at that point, we feel as a commission that that should have been addressed to us. That the person or group of individuals that had concern should have been directed, should have been put in our direction, and that they come in front of the commission with their concern, and then we could address that. Because it created several phone calls and emails and who did this and who did that, and you know, Kyla Welch, a superintendent of schools, got blindsided. She didn't know anything about this. And I think if we would have gone through the process, then I could reach out to them. I just think too many people were reaching out and trying to come up with answers. And then the warrant itself, is the school mandated by this warrant? When this warrant, did this warrant or group of individuals, did they go to the public school district meetings prior to the town meeting and say, we are going to incorporate this warrant? Do they have to? I don't know. That's a question I'm asking. But the bottom line is, did the school boards know, or when this warrant article was passed, where did it go? Were the elementary school board and the Pemmy Baker School Board, were they notified that this warrant went into effect, and does it apply to the schools? And then I know the town, I think, reached out to the town attorney in reference to the RSA. So, no question. I mean, when this first came about, not this particular spraying, but when we sprayed the town properties, we stopped immediately. We met with this, myself and the commission met with this organization, and we resolved it right then and there. We stopped all spraying of town properties. We didn't take the schools into consideration.
And there I'd like to clarify, if I may. Sorry to cut you off, Larry. We don't own that land. So we can't tell them what to do on that land. It is not public land. And looking at the excerpt of the ordinance, talks about management on Plymouth's public property. But on the face of it, that restricts this restriction to land owned or administered by the town of Plymouth. So it includes the Common, Fox Park, the Riverside Town Hall, anywhere else. So, on the face of it, and this is what I was trying to say in my initial letter, but it seemed to get sidetracked into, is it a governmental use or not a governmental use? But they aren't subject to ordinances of this nature because it isn't our property that they're spraying it on. I did also mention that the practice field is private property. At the end, I encouraged, my final paragraph is, regardless who performs the application, this is occurring on areas not under the jurisdiction of the town. Concern should be rightfully addressed to the SAU superintendent or the property owner. They have no legal compunction to comply with this because essentially they are private property compared to the town, if you want to look at it in very simple terms. The governmental uses, you talk about noxious uses on governmental land. You can recall not too many years ago where downtown was almost uninhabitable because of activities at the sewage treatment plant. Now, we didn't go after them under the zoning because we couldn't. That's their function, though they did creep off their, they interfered in a violation to Plymouth Town ordinances, but they didn't apply to them because of that. So, this is cherry picking, I think. The fact of the matter is, we don't own the land. We don't administer the land. We have employees that are doing the application, if I'm correct, but that's it. They're hired guns.
It was contracted out. My staff did not spray.
Okay.
It was contracted out by a certified company through the state of New Hampshire.
Are we talking about the Smith Bridge practice field, or are we talking about the high school?
We didn't do Smith Bridge. We did that high school.
It sounds like
answering what was addressed in the emails.
It sounds like you're talking about Smith Bridge, but you're talking about the high school?
That was brought up in the.
Yeah, we didn't do, my knowledge, we didn't do anything in Smith Bridge.
So I understand your point about Smith Bridge, but it does feel like the ordinance should apply to the school fields.
No, further down in the emails too, Joyce had asked, is the town exempt from its own rules? Well, yes, we are in many respects. We placed an illegal to zoning sign for the convenience of the Plymouth Historical Society in violation of the setbacks on Court Street because we can, and it was to a greater public good. So, water and sewer and the SAU can build right up to the property line if they want to. We're talking land use, and I know Paul's all over this one, versus other uses, but anything that you do on your property is basically, and here we go again, incidental to the true function of what's going on there. So if in order to provide an attractive playing field, and you can apply any definition to attractive that you want to, they asked to do pesticide spraying there. It's their property. Even if we had an absolute ban here on Plymouth Town lands, they could still do it because they are not Plymouth Town lands. They reside within the bounds and the jurisdiction of the town of Plymouth, but they are not owned. So the ordinance as written applies as much to private property as it does to other governmental units. And it is not specific into just what it is. It said Plymouth owned lands, Plymouth's public property. Is the school grounds public property? That's a question for us all. Yeah, it's restricted, we pay for it. Nobody would assume that they could go down and kick the soccer ball around anytime they wanted to. It's done with permission. Where that doesn't really apply on the common. Yeah, you're free to go down and kick the soccer ball around 24 hours a day if you want. But if you kick it into a picnicking group of children, that's a different issue. So the fact of the matter is, they can do on their land what they need to do. And then to kind of seal the deal here, and this was not addressed, section 430:49 of the agricultural, horticultural, and animal husbandry title in the RSAs speaks to preemption of local regulation. Paragraph 1, the administration and enforcement of this subdivision shall be implemented in an equitable manner throughout the state. This subdivision is of statewide concern because they're talking about insect pests and plant diseases, to give a broad. Statewide concern occupies the whole field of regulation regarding the registration, sale, transportation of use of pesticides to the exclusion of all local regulation. Except as otherwise specifically provided in this subdivision, no ordinance or regulation of local government, including but not limited to an action by a local government agency or department, a county board of commissioners, or a city council, or a local regulation adopted by the use of an initiative measure may prohibit or in any way attempt to regulate any matter relating to the registration, sale, transportation, or use of pesticides, and any of those ordinances, laws, or regulations are void and of no force or effect. However, it goes on to say, this section shall not be construed to invalidate any ordinance or regulation of a local government in effect on the effective date of this section. And it was 1993. That's when this was adopted. So that tells me that legally, the ordinance has no effect in the town of Plymouth. And at best, it's poorly written in that it doesn't identify specific owners of property. It just used the blanket term Plymouth Public Lands. If using regular interpretation of stuff in this setting, contextually, you would have to say that it is the town of Plymouth, not entities within Plymouth.
It was mentioned that our attorney took a look at this as well.
Yes, and he's the one that pointed me out to this.
You want to share his comments as well, or?
John, yeah. So back in January, our attorney reviewed all the warrant articles, which included the one on pesticides. And he concluded that the town meeting has no authority to regulate such matters. And also it's the school board, not the town, that manages and controls school property.
So he was aware of this in January and the select board supported it to the town?
Select board didn't support it. There was a sense of the meeting that was taken because it's like an advisory or a sense of the meeting, you know, and the board, well, I guess the board would have supported it in that way, but.
It was a citizen's petition, was it not?
Yes.
So the board only pushes it forward for enactment at town meeting.
No, I understand, but often in town meeting, the various warrant articles say whether or not the
board did not support it.
No, the board did not support that warrant article.
No.
Interesting.
Could you share Redigan's opinion, by the way? Could you email it to all of us, or have you in the past? Or
Being sent, yeah, it was sent in the past, but
okay, do you want to refresh that then, or?
Yeah,
especially the newer board members.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We do have an email that was sent from John today. Attorney Phillips' opinion below, and it was the email string, does not address RSA 430:49 and the preemption of this issue by state government. There is no local authority to regulate such pesticide use. That is the town council's opinion.
Sounds like it might be an issue for the legislature.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, yes, it will.
Well, I fully support the idea behind it. But the fact is that, you know, this would be better addressed to the SAU in that regard. Since you know, Larry, you've pretty curtailed curtailed use of pesticides on town property.
Yes, yeah, I was going to add that. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the school boards, but I can assure you they will be looking into this, and we'll probably go organic on this. So, yeah, we have stopped everything as far as spraying. So,
maybe I wasn't listening, but Kyla's going to put it in the hands of the school board. Is that?
She actually deferred any comments because she was not superintendent at the time to Larry. Let's see. It's now understood, according to her, that in order for the school to be mandated to follow the regulations of the town as approved at town meeting, that they would have to create and adopt a policy at their own annual town meeting. She did not indicate if they were going to do that or not, but that's what she understood. The product that was used did not have the hazardous chemical that is mentioned in the town's article, and they had the appropriate material safety data sheet when the project was applied by the Park and Recs Department. And then the request for Larry to be at the meeting to discuss this further.
Okay.
So potentially she's bringing it to the school board meeting at the next meeting.
Sure, that's my understanding.
That was okay. Yeah.
Are you planning to be there, Larry?
Yes. Well, that was my question. When this was passed in March, were the school boards aware of this warrant? You know, and it sounds like obviously they were not. And I'm not going to get into the legalities of it because I don't know it. You know, we just want to maintain the fields and make sure they're properly taken care of. But we want to do it within state rules and regulations, which we do. We do follow the guidelines set forth, and that's why we have a professional company come in, and they are certified to spray the fields. And they wouldn't put anything on the fields that weren't authorized by the state. They would lose their license.
So just a couple comments. You know, I'm sorry if you felt that you're out of the loop on, you know, that. And it's a similar thing with the last thing that came up regarding town common. You know, you felt that you were like the last person to know in this string of emails. And it's unfortunate, and also for the fact that the school boards may not have been party to this, to the town ordinance, but it was publicly heard and voted on at town meeting. And it's maybe another unfortunate thing too, that they weren't brought in, but still they'd be under the rule just as anybody else would, even if they were unaware that something actually passed in the town, you know, so. And it was our assumption that it probably would affect the school fields, practice fields, and to discover that that might be in question is kind of unfortunate because, and whether or not the town has any right to, you know, stop the application of pesticides in the town, if it's under state, you know, acceptable state law to do so.
Oh, I think I looked at it as two separate entities. From day one, we did stop the spraying of the town properties. Right. The question was, is the school part of the town properties? And unfortunately, we got to this point, and we will do everything we can to correct it, and we will correct it. You know, we will stop, and we will definitely look at the organic program, and we are for the town properties. You know, so it's unfortunate that it happened. Like I said, I'll take full responsibility for it. I'm not going to say who authorized it, but as the director, it's my responsibility. That's part of my job. So, and I'll follow through with it. So.
Okay. And Paul, I want to thank you for offering your comments. And Joyce, I want to question you of where you think this might go, either legislatively or whatever. Do you feel kind of like a gut punch or what? Because it seems like.
Oh, actually, I've had my hand up for a little while, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
First of all, I want to thank Larry Gibson because we recognize that as soon as this warrant was passed, he acted on it immediately, and we really appreciated that. So I recognize that he is doing the best he can for the town. I got a messenger note through my Facebook page from a constituent that I don't know who was concerned about the playing fields. and just passed it along, and did not know that this was in any way going to come down to haunt Larry Gibson, who I do think is doing a really good job. If it needs to be addressed on the state level, I think, that's something that we can pursue. I'm not sure this is the year for it, considering what we have to do with COVID and meeting remotely. But that is something that I will put in my back pocket. So I think that the town made its intentions very clear. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't talk to all the, the RSA nitty-gritties that Brian was addressing. But I think the town's intentions were clear, and we ought to pay attention to what the intent is. So, that's all I have to say. I really appreciate the select board bringing this forward so we could have a discussion with all the parties at the table. And I have the feeling that to some degree, attention's been brought to the issue. And it sounds like progress will be made in our town, at least, just because of this discussion.
Lisa Ash, the chair of the high school board.
What's that? Is it?
Lisa Ash, the chair of the high school board.
Yeah, Lisa, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add that we weren't aware that this had passed. And we have kind of had this phased program where the inside of the buildings are all organic, and now the approach is going to be the outside. So that is on our future plans, and I'm pretty sure that everybody's moving forward with all of that.
Thanks, Lisa. And thanks, Joyce, for your comments as well. So it's kind of like in an odd place as far as, I'd still like to see, Radigan's opinions, both the January one and the one that we may have gotten today. And I guess see where we're going to go from there. And thank you, Larry, for
No, thank you, guys.
for dealing with this. So
Thank you.
Welcome, Laura. It sounds like everybody wants to do the right thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, certainly. You just got to get all the players on the same page. Basically, I mean, if it's the will of the townsfolk to not apply pesticides, you have to be explicit when you're doing ordinances. But the spirit of it is, hey guys, we're doing this. Why don't you do it too? And it sounds like they'd be more than happy to comply with something.
True. All right. Well, thank you. Now you can have a happy retirement, Brian.
Yeah.
Still got Thursday. Still a planning board meeting on Thursday. We don't.
Oh, this week.
That's exciting.
All right. So we've yet to discuss the status of Halloween trick or treat.
Stay there.
People usually wear a mask on Halloween.
Yeah, well, not cloth masks that over your nose and mouth, but and so this obviously is from a state, and the state of New Hampshire, produced this for distribution to municipalities, or
Senior.
Yes, I gave you the CDC's Halloween guidelines too, right?
I think it was in the email.
oh, okay, it's
It's the same, only one's in color.
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know
think
where
it
that.
was part of the pack.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, it was an email.
Okay. Oh, I thought. Well, initially I stopped in your office and we were thinking about doing some alternative
Yes.
Halloween.
And it
Have
didn't,
the stations and drive and.
it didn't work out because every place that I thought about using is already occupied except for Green Street. So the discussion came up that, that we just allow the kids to trick or treat under safety conditions, but maybe start earlier instead of, what time do they usually?
Normally it was 5:30 to 7:30. Normally the storefront trick or treating downtown was 4:30 to 5:30. And then the community trick or treating started after that. And we thought if we were allowed, then we would maybe move the time frame earlier. We would not do the downtown trick or treating. And we still do the community trick or treating, maybe starting at 4 or 4:30. And that I think that's still something to discuss.
The fact is that, you can say trick or treats canceled, but there are going to be some kids that are going to be out there trick or treating anyway. They'll go to their neighbor's house and their relatives. And
well, the other concern too is if the other communities cancel their trick or treating and we allow it, is Plymouth going to get bombarded? Or the residents are going to get, and that's happened. That happened about 10 years ago, where there was some confusion and we had moved the trick-or-treating date and other communities already had theirs, and then all of a sudden they came into Plymouth. So we have to look at that also.
Do we know what other towns are doing?
We don't know yet.
I don't know if we heard, but there were 3 cases at Waterville Valley School today,
Yes.
and they shut down.
Yes.
Just in terms of what's in our greater community.
That's 2 cases.
It's 2, Lisa, not 3.
It's 2 cases, not 3.
And, and the other thing is, in talking with Chief Morrison and Chief Lefebvre, it's not fair that decision is solely on them. And when we had talked several weeks ago, we felt like, well, maybe we could form a committee, and we could, with obviously those 2 individuals and some people from my staff and the safety director, and just iron something out, and then Lisa, there were possibilities of some ideas at the school, whether that will take place or not. There was some thought of maybe and we don't know this, if the school was going to have their Halloween parade that they have for the kids on that Friday before Halloween, that maybe we would just hand out bags of candy to the kids and not have trick-or-treating. That was one of the options discussed. So, but the school's not aware of that. We haven't discussed that with them at this point, but I would like to see trick-or-treating. I still think individuals are going to go to families and relatives. They're still going to trick-or-treat through houses. So I don't know how you're going to stop it, but I am concerned with, are we going to get overloaded if other communities don't have trick-or-treating? So, and the reason we were looking at changing the time was because it's a Saturday night, and let's just start it earlier. Let the kids trick-or-treat and then off the streets. So, in daylight.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure, Tom, go ahead.
Thank you. I think Chief Lefebvre and Emergency Management Director Whedon and I are in agreement, and they can speak up as well, that we should not be encouraging large gatherings at this point, i.e. the Main Street trick-or-treating is hundreds of parents and children from all over the region in a relatively compact area. Having said that, I think, as Larry said, we can't stop, and I think it's fine for trick-or-treating to take place amongst family and friends. But I don't think we should be encouraging the Main Street event. And I have looked at the school's preliminary plan for events within the school, and those look fine. What Lisa has developed for the school looks fine and safe.
So it might be it's obviously kind of premature to come up with okay, let's go ahead and have external trick-or-treating, because you're not gonna be able to stop grouping of kids when you think that you should be like 6 feet apart and wear masks, and you won't have too much control over it once you let it go. So, and yeah, downtown, it's a lot of kids, but there's a whole lot of kids on the back streets too.
Back streets too.
So, it just doesn't seem like a great idea. If you can do it in the schools, that might be even, probably the better solution. And then you wouldn't have external kids coming into town if there's.
It seems that the university gets involved too.
They used to. I'm
That's
sure they're
happened
not.
the last couple of years.
Why would, if they don't allow just normal people to, they wouldn't probably want to do trick or treating in the dormitories.
I was just looking back on times what I've seen.
Yeah, no, they
Used to be my favorite place to go. It's
Yeah.
all inside,
Yeah.
temperature controlled.
So
I'll check with them, Mr. Chairman, but I would hope that they have no intentions of bringing children into the dorms this year.
Well, considering a townie can't go onto a campus,
Right.
I don't think they'll have townie kids going on the campus either.
You wouldn't think so.
Oh, Scott, Mr. Weed.
Yeah, I concur with Chief Morrison, and I think, the Main Street, not only do the Plymouth children go there, but it brings hundreds in from neighboring communities, which then creates a bigger problem with them wanting to continue to trick or treat in Plymouth through the evening. So I think, the citizens, the residents of Plymouth have some common sense and understand the hazard that this has. And if a homeowner wants a child to come trick or treating, they'll have an outside light on. And those that don't want children at their house will keep it dark. And I think you have to let trick or treating go as it normally does within the neighborhoods and within the communities. And with the towns that I've checked with, neighboring communities, they're going to do just that. They're going to let trick or treating go as it is. They're not going to promote it. They're not going to cancel it. They're just going to hope that the residents and business owners in town have a plan in place. I know I've spoken with a couple of business owners on the Main Street, and they really are very nervous if it was to occur on the Main Street, where it does bring in hundreds of children into their stores, and where, we do have the mask ordinance, and we do expect that the business owners are complying with the mask ordinance. I think it's best not to have the trick or treating on the Main Street and just let it go in the neighborhoods as it always has in the past.
All right, thanks, Scott. So is there a trick or treating subcommittee, or is there a Halloween?
No, we just thought of developing one because the decision always had to come down on both chiefs. And because of the time that we're dealing with now, would it be better to form a committee to discuss what are the options of hosting and having trick or treating? And I only mentioned the change of time. We don't have to change the time. We can still leave it 5:30 to 7:30. Doesn't matter to me, whoever wants to make that decision. So that was just a suggestion. So one of many.
Are the Main Street merchants or the Chamber of Commerce involved in organizing the Halloween Main Street?
No, it's just kind of
not
a given.
organized.
It's just kind of a given. It comes to our office, and then we would take down pumpkins or something to put in the storefront windows so that the kids and families would know they could stop there. So it's disappointing. Obviously, it's a lot of fun. It's a huge success, but I agree that I just don't think it's the right time to have it this year. So, but I do support the community. But the question is the time frame. Do we want to go earlier, or do we want to leave it as is? And as Scott mentioned, if you want to participate, you put your porch light on. If you don't, you leave it dark, and then people know. So, and parents will use judgment, of where they want to trick or treat and things like that. So,
Steve, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts?
Yes.
I pretty much agree with both Tom and Scott on this, but I just take it one step further in that I don't think the town should promote or condone trick-or-treating at all, period, this year. Because don't forget, you guys felt so compelled to protect our townspeople by doing a mask ordinance. Now you're encouraging large gatherings. And when I say large gatherings, I've been doing trick or treat for 27 years now. And there are hundreds of people walking on our back roads, and a place, especially when you get up by Merrill Street Extension down by the high school, with that many people, you can't get 6 feet apart. It's impossible, absolutely impossible to do. So I would just be afraid that the town would be encouraging a large gathering by promoting trick-or-treating. I would be in support of doing something in the schools. And, I would even help out with that. I could have police officers go to the schools and help hand out candy or do whatever. It's already a controlled environment. The kids are already there. We can have all the police officers mask up and be protected. So we protect the kids and go help hand out candy.
Can I just say that I did speak to Principal Tanya Orlando today, and she said that they had numerous activities planned that would keep students in their cohorts and in their groupings and do it while 6 feet apart, inside, outside, the outside classrooms. And they could, offer the students a nice celebration. And then she did in turn say that if we could support that celebration, whether it is with the trick-or-treating bags that the fire, police, and Park and Rec do, filled with candy. Maybe we give it to them as they get on the bus and they leave the campus on that Friday. But she's willing to, she understands that this is a big event for them. And I think the downtown is absolutely out of the question. You're shoulder to shoulder with people. I mean, people are rubbing against my shoulders. It's so tight down there that you just can't. And bottlenecking in and out of every store would be very unsafe.
I think we're all in agreement that downtown is out of the question.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So,
I personally love the idea of us supporting the schools in any way we can to try to make their program extra special this year, and that be the end of it.
I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Lisa, I'd be happy to have discussions with you or Tanya or whomever. Anyway, like I said, we can participate. We could deliver candy to the outside classrooms, whatever you guys feel would be the most appropriate thing to do. We're all in. We'd help out with it.
Financially. You want to give me some money?
Not you, Larry, but the kids. We always buy. We buy candy for them every year.
Just checking. See your generosity. That's all.
I'm actually curious, with the Main Street piece closed, would some of the businesses be willing to contribute to that? For ourselves, we spend about $500 each year, so we'd certainly be happy. Yeah, but either way,
It's a bribe to keep those kids out of their stores.
Any
They
kid,
don't come into our stores. It's too small. Most of us stand outside. It would just be too crazy in general.
I know.
anybody that wants to trick or treat at my house is welcome. My driveway's only 4,000 feet long. And I got coyotes and bears out there.
Oh,
Is that an anytime or only on the 31st? I'll be over.
all right. So, I guess we'll strive for a minimalist Halloween and bolster the schools. And actually, you have a website that can actually access the businesses downtown.
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
see if they
Yeah,
can.
put that up. Sure.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So then we will just do the school and not community, or?
I would, yeah,
Yeah, I would.
I'd be partial.
The community's going to happen anyway. It's just going to happen, and we're not going to stop it, and that's fine. But I just don't think that we should endorse it or condone it.
But should we put a time frame on it
Well,
for the community?
No, because I think that's endorsing it. Once you put a time limit to it, that's like, okay, we're endorsing it, and now we're helping make it happen.
Yep.
I would just say, just tell everybody sorry. Unfortunately, because of COVID, Halloween is canceled this year. We're just not having it, and our intention is to do something within the schools for the kids.
Sounds good.
it's not the worst thing that's happened this year. So.
Yeah.
Depends on whether or not you're 8.
Yeah.
True. Like Bob Humbug. No Halloween for you guys.
It's going to show up on your next opposition flyer.
Yeah. So we got a non-public. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that concludes the general items on our agenda, but we still have to go into non-public for,
Do you have any committee reports?
oh, goodness gracious.
Sure. Yeah. I have to attend another meeting in about 10 minutes. I wanted to thank you very much for the honor. I do appreciate it. And,
Just don't lose the rock.
it's going, I'm leaving it here just to make sure. It's clean, people steal it. Thank you
Okay.
very much again. Good night.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brian.
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 I'm leaving too. I'm starving. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Oh, wait, you
We're
bring
not
us
hungry. Don't worry
dinner?
about us. And are there any committee reports?
Not yet.
Yeah, the economic development, but you'll really cover that well when we're done.
And I couldn't go to the Conservation Commission, so
School board's next week.
Or Lakes Region, right?
yeah, that was tonight. I missed another one actually, so I don't think Hayes is going to appreciate the fact that I'm on the committee now or on the board,
Tell him to
whatever.
change his night so it doesn't interfere with your meetings here.
Jokingly told him that, but
Oh,
You went nowhere.
I don't drive this one. All right, so I guess we'll need to go into non-public. Is there a motion?
It's the motion to go into non-public.
Under,
for?
yeah, for RSA 91-A, column 3, Roman numeral 2.
That's
I think
Yes.
A for
A
personnel,
and C.
A and C.
There you go.
Okay, you moved that.
So moved.
Mary Ann moves it.
Second.
Okay. Zach seconds. Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann.
Aye.
Bill, aye. Zach,
Aye.
John. John.
John, you still with us?
John.
Hello?
Woohoo.
John. He doesn't hear us.
Nope.
You turned us off.
He thought we were done.
We're taking a vote, John.
Turn on your mic.
He's still not.
Someone should text him. I did.
Oh, no.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Voting.
Let's say
I
aye.
think it turned the mic off after a certain period of time. I redialed into the meeting.
Ah.
What's the,
We went to non-public. Do you vote aye?
Aye.
Right.
Done.